welcome back. It's Masters Week. It is my favorite time of the year with the Masters, Major League Baseball kicking off. We're heading into our golf season here in the Midwest. And then we've got NBA playoffs. I know some people hate the NBA. I get it. We've got the NHL playoffs kicking up. Some people don't like hockey. I get it. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in sports at this time of year. March Madness just wrapped up. I absolutely love spring. Some of you can't wait for the fall when you got college football coming back, all kinds of stuff wrapping up with the playoffs. And I get it. So it's fun. So anyway, this month I want to talk to you about how your pelvis should be functioning in the golf swing. If I put a PVC pipe across my hip bones and I give you a hip hinge and I go to the top of my backswing, my pelvis should be turning close to 45 degrees. If I give you a front face-on view, it should look like this, where my right butt cheek is going towards my left butt cheek, and you see this left knee kind of dive in a little bit. That's the backswing and how your pelvis should work. Think about what has to happen from your core and your glute standpoint to support that, and think about what has to happen with your femur bone at the hip socket coming up to allow that rotation to happen to get into that range. If you don't have that hip mobility and the core strength and the glute stability to stay in your hip hinge while you make that pelvis move, how are you going to get there? That's pretty tough, right? As you make the transition, we get to the top of the backswing. We've got about 45 degrees of turn through the pelvis. I want you to sit back in the transition, and then guess what's going to happen? You're going to have about 45 degrees of rotation this way before the club reaches about hip height. Well, you need the same hip mobility on the lead side. You need the same core strength and glute strength to be able to support staying back in your hinge as you make the move with your pelvis to create, look at this, separation between the lower body and the upper body. If the left shoulder and the left hip take off at the same time, that's going to create probably an over-the-top move with you. What you need to see happen is that you get to the top of your backswing, the hip starts to unwind, then the torso starts to unwind, then the lead arm delivers the club. It's a lot to consider, but the pelvis has to work properly, and it has to have the proper mobility in the hip joint and stability coming from your core and your glutes to be able to do all of that. Does that make sense? So, 45 degrees, sit back, and then 45 degrees before the club even gets to like hip height. Otherwise, you're looking for all kinds of club face control issues, path issues, attack angle issues. It's a nightmare. You're going to hate it. Trust me. Big two-way misses. So your pelvis is probably what I would call like the motor of the golf swing. If it's not working right, you're going to have issues because your arms are going to want to take over. And for you guys or gals where that happens, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, the only way to know if you have proper hip mobility, proper stability in your core and your glutes is to do an assessment. If you've never done it and you try to do what I'm recommending is the proper way to move your pelvis just in a range session or in a simulator session, and you're just taking camera video of yourself, but you have no idea if you even have the physical capabilities to do it, all the best I can say is good luck. It's just, there's way too much happening between how your pressure shifts, how you sit into your heels and your hips and load things, and how things rotate, and then the timing of the transition of, I need to get to my lead side, and I got to get to this heel, and my hip should be open this much before I... If you don't have the physical capabilities to even pull it off, you're guessing. That's all there is to it. So, if I'm not working with you, I would recommend hopping in an assessment, and then I can give you some things to be doing to help on hip mobility, core strength, glute strength. If we are working together, you've seen me in our sessions. We work on hip mobility exercises. We work on core strength. We work on glute strength. It's that important, okay? And when I say core, core strength, I'm talking about anything that attaches to your ribs, your spine, your pelvis. That's your core, not just the ab muscles you can see on a magazine or see in a mirror or can't see in a mirror. Okay? So it's those deep muscles that really control how we sit into our hips, how we transition, and then deliver the club. So if you have any questions on proper pelvis function, core strength, glute strength, different positions in the golf swing. I don't teach the golf swing, but I have relationships with a ton of instructors that do. However, I would argue that I play a vital role in making sure you can physically pull off what your instructor might be asking you to do. So, huge topic, dive into it, watch a bunch of videos on YouTube like I know you're going to, and then get back to me and let's touch base, all right? Enjoy the Masters this week. I'm gonna stick to my pick. I'm probably dead wrong like I always am. I've got Rory McIlroy finally pulling off the Grand Slam for his career. I think with him cutting down his driver shaft, he's hitting the ball about the same distance, but his dispersion has come way in. I heard, and he didn't deny it in an interview 2 weeks ago, he had 19 putts in an 18-hole practice round at Augusta. What did he shoot? I'd like to know. Was he getting up and down for a bunch of par saves, or did he go stupid low? If you remember last year, he shot 64 in the final round, paired with Colin Morikawa, and on 18 they both pulled out bunker shots from that right greenside bunker. So I think he's finally getting a little bit more comfortable with the place, and I think he's taking some pressure off himself and just having fun. We'll see what happens. He could also miss the cut by 20. Who knows? Golf is crazy. Enjoy the Masters. I'll talk to you soon.